math coordinator, a district leader, a math coach who are supporting math teachers in the professional development of those math teachers, there are two barriers that are preventing adoption of the strategies you're trying to help your teachers implement in their classrooms. I'm John Orr from Make Math Moments, and we help create, coordinate, and implement math improvement plans that help build long-term sustainable success for students, but also create pedagogically and proficiently strong math educators. Maybe you've been in a situation like we have, where you're engaging in professional development. It's a session, it's a PLC, it's say a small group session, and you're modeling, you're showcasing a particular strategy that you're hoping teachers bring into their classrooms. And what you're seeing is like you know that there are sparks flying. You know that people are nodding their heads. You know, you've even got like high school teachers saying like, I think I might change something. And then what happens is everyone leaves happy, but then also when you check in on things or you reach out or maybe you do a classroom visit, you're not seeing what you thought you'd be seeing. You thought you'd be seeing some adoption, you thought you'd be seeing some implementation farther than where you're seeing, say, when you visit those classrooms. And there's two factors that are happening here, and I want to share a story here because this is exactly what happened with Jill, an Ontario math coordinator who is focusing on these things, and they were focusing on building workshops for teachers, and we'll give them huge credit because this particular leader knew that they needed to focus on the mathematical proficiencies of their educators. They knew that that was a main component to give them flexible strategies or to make them feel confident and give them those strategies so that they could be implementing the teaching strategy in the classroom. We had to focus on the math component. We need to help them build their confidence around math just so that when they did, say, the math that they were asking students to do, they did it this particular way. They were using models. They were using strategies. Like they were focusing on that. That was great for them. They were delivering workshops. They were bringing teachers in and giving full-day workshops or half-day workshops to support this endeavor. But like I said in the introduction here, is that when they went to do classroom visits, they weren't seeing the implementation. Like everyone was excited. They took that learning, they did the actual application, but they weren't adopting. And what's happening here is that first barrier is about the follow-up and the support that comes after the session. There are actually 4 components of effective professional development for implementation. The first part is teachers have to have, be given, this is what it looks like. This is the reason that you should be using this particular strategy in your classroom. Like we typically start our sessions like that. We give them the reason. We're addressing like their concerns, maybe their pebbles, but also giving them, a glimpse of what this could look like. That's the second part, is like, what does this look like? Let's model this for them. We have to actually model what we want them to be doing in the classroom. That's the second component of effective mathematics professional development for implementation. Teachers have to see it in action. They maybe experience it, but also see someone model it. The third component is a teacher needs to have that reflection time, the planning time. Like, does this work for me? They actually have to have that thought of like, does it help me do what I need to do? And can I imagine myself doing this? And how does it fit into my, say, weekly schedule or my monthly plans or my unit plan? So teachers have to have those 3 components. And a lot of times when we plan our sessions, we plan those 3 exact components. If you think about the last ones that you've planned or you've been a part of, they include those things. But 90% of implementation, 90% of adoption is actually in the 4th component, which most people miss. And the 4th component is the consistent support and follow-up after the session. So if you think about it, you give them the glimpse, you give them the reason, the rationality, you give them like the model, you give them, say, the time to reflect and plan. But then it's like, if you don't come and go, I'm your accountability partner. I'm going to come back and ask for the follow-up questions. I'm going to come back and, figure out what are the pebbles that are rattling around in your shoe for implementation of this particular strategy. And that regular support, that relationship building aspect of ensuring that teachers feel that support to completely or take on the implementation here. If we don't add that in, 90% of implementation falls away. you've got your bright spots that keep going, but most teachers are not implementing because of that follow-up. So here's what we did when Jill came to us with, her question is like, how do we get more teachers to adopt the strategies that we're looking at? This is the first barrier, is not enough follow-up. So what we did is we looked at their structures. We took a hard look. We asked them hard questions around what is it that we're doing, and how are we best using, say, the time that you're using with these teachers. So we knew that follow-up was missing from this structure, this model of professional development. And we asked them, like, okay, how many teachers are you bringing in on a regular basis? Like, what do these workshops look like? Can we target some of our support time to add the follow-up in? And so what this team actually decided to do was that they said, let's target less teachers initially in the first cycle, and then let's embed and build in follow-up with the coordinator, with the coach, with a TOSA, with someone on site to check in with them specifically. So like build that into the plan so that they could then follow up and be that accountability partner, and then create a cycle out of that. And so they said, let's take initially less teachers for these workshops over time, and then let's also build in the follow-up process. So we helped structure that with them, and then they were repeating those cycles. So there was another cycle, bring in some teachers for the workshop, embed, plan for follow-up, and then design how that looks. So we help them restructure that process and restructure that in their system. So that addresses, say, barrier number one to adoption, which is like, you're not implementing follow-up. The second part is this particular team, and this may be you too, is that your coaching staff, your support group, your coordinators, they were having, in this case, too many meetings. They were meeting twice a week on each end of the week, almost full day meetings of planning, support. What are we doing this week? What are we going to be doing next week? What should we be focusing on? Is there any new learning that we should be doing? And here's the root cause of too many meetings. This team, or your team, is probably not aligned in what the vision is of mathematics instruction, and also what the top priorities are for the entire year, or for the entire, say, semester, or for the cycle. And that's what was happening here with this particular team, is that they were meeting twice a week, just really to align with each other on like what the priorities were for the week. And they were switching those priorities. So teachers not only were not being supported in the classrooms, or they could have not been supported in the classrooms, is that since the priorities were switching each week, they're getting that message that things change, and what maybe mattered last week doesn't matter this week. So what we help this particular team do is get a clear vision for mathematics. What do we want our end of 5 to 10 years classrooms to look like? Like, let's get clear on the vision process. Like, do we even have a vision for mathematics? Because the vision is the target. It helps kind of answer questions about, like, what do we do this week? Like, we're trying to get towards the vision. Okay, so what does that mean? But then we also help them create specific objectives. These are the target zones, the big things to work on. Like, let's get clear there on, because that can help shape, again, weekly work that's happening in classrooms, or it can help shape new curriculum adoption. It can help, it basically becomes the filter for everything you do, but gives you the beacons, the guiding lights to do the work you're doing, which means you don't need more meetings with your team to decide what we're doing this week. You already know. You already have that planned out at the beginning of the year. Like, this is what we're working on from here to here, and let's go and do the work. We just got to go and do the work. We got to go do the coaching. We got to go do the professional development support. We got to put out some fires every now and then, but we know that this is the work we're going to do. And let's not try to figure out which objective next week we're going to work on, because when you work on too many things, you work on actually nothing. So this team needed to kind of restructure. And what we did is we said, look, let's cut some of the time on these end meetings. Let's now use that time, because we're now have a vision, because you have your top 3 objectives, and because you know how you're going to hit those objectives, your math improvement plan. You also have your measurables. You've got those things that you hit them. So we helped them create that component of their program. And what that did is freed up that time. The coaches didn't need to meet anymore as much. And we actually freed up 12 hours times 3 coaches per week. Like, think about that. Like, that time is now freed up to go do the follow-up for barrier number 1, which was we weren't doing the follow-up. So now we have time to restructure our program to kind of do the things that matter to get the implementation, to get the adoption that we're actually looking for when we're helping teachers do the great work that they do. Teachers are doing great work, and sometimes they need that accountability. They need that support. Even though they might say they don't, they need that support to keep progress moving forward, to keep, helping get those pebbles plucked out of their shoes when trying new strategies. They are risk takers here, but we need to support them in the ways. And a lot of times it comes down to vision, which is like the first barrier, which means if we're not doing these two things, if we're not getting aligned with our vision across all educators that are supporting the work and teachers themselves don't know what the clear vision is with the objectives in place. If we're not doing that, and we're not making sure that our professional development has consistent follow-up on the things that we said mattered. Now, follow-up can look different if we don't have coaches to go in and do coaching in the classroom or PLCs. Follow-up can look different. This is where we want to get creative. But this particular team, what we help them do is restructure that follow-up, restructure their time. So 2 things. 1, clear vision, clear objectives. 2, ensure that you're optimizing your structures, your channels, the way that you're using, professional development time so that you can work on the things that matter. Those are the two things that we need to make sure that we are building into our math improvement plans for long-term success. If you're not sure exactly how to get started, if you're not sure exactly what to focus on, like I talked today specifically about what to let's create those objectives. If you're not sure what the objectives to work on, then go to growyourmathprogram.com. Assessment there will help you pinpoint which of the 6 effective components of a math program you should be focusing on. We're going to give you support. We're going to send you that report that kind of walks you through how to, say, zero in on, say, that particular objective. The second thing, so let's say you're like, hey, I already know what I know that we need to be working on. This group knew that they were working on proficiency for their math educators. That was their top priority. So they already knew that. So if you already know that, but you don't know the roadmap to get that done, we have a roadmap program for you that you could say, look, I don't want to kind of do the trial and error. I would love to have the roadmap, the playbooks, the guidebooks, the support, the training, so that I can create and coordinate and implement a math improvement plan for long-term sustainable success. That's what we do here at Make Math Moments. Every single day, we talk with leaders, coordinators, math coaches about building those systems for their programs. We work with schools, we work with districts. So we have the playbooks. If you're looking for that support, you can head on over to makemathmoments.com/discovery. Check out makemathmoments.com/discovery. You can book a call with us to talk about what that roadmap can look like for you and your specific organization, school, or say at the district level. All right, now go make those math moments.